Hi, I'm Buford Jones, and welcome to Views Reviews, where I review movies by black creators that are primarily shown on the Tubi streaming network. Now, if you don't have Tubi, you can download it to your phone, tablet, or streaming device. If you're a returning watcher, thank you for returning, and if not, welcome. And as usual, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's get into this. The movie I'll be reviewing today is called Allure, Part 1, and it was written by Dane Pierre and Marcus Smoot and directed by Dane Pierre. The movie begins with Sean, an apparent low-level drug dealer, mid-level drug dealer, riding with his friend, associate Omega. They're riding in Sean's car and talking about business and things such as that to pretty much let you know what they do for a living. After receiving a call from Sean's girlfriend, Lindsay, in a hurry, he runs a stoplight and they get stopped by some crooked cops. We're assuming they're in Atlanta. The guys are detained and their car is searched, and of course, a gun is found in the car. Sean assumes responsibility for the gun with the assumption that he'll probably be able to get it thrown out. Sean later explains to his girlfriend Lindsay that the reason he took the charges were because Omega had several charges already pending and that he knew that he could get his thrown out. Lindsay explains to Sean in no uncertain terms that she is now accustomed to living the good life and she doesn't intend to go back to the way it was before, which becomes important once Sean's attorney explains that the gun has come back and has been found to have a switch which makes it an automatic, thus taking it from a misdemeanor charge to a federal gun charge. Subsequently, Sean ends up serving 13 years for that. We fast forward to 13 years later where Sean is getting out of prison, but we also see Omega in a bedroom situation, and then it turns out that the woman he's in the situation with is none other than Lindsay, who was Sean's girlfriend as he went into prison 13 years ago. Omega and Lindsay have started a family. They've gotten married and they have a child whose 12th birthday is fast approaching, a girl named Lila. Meanwhile, Sean is getting out of prison. His friend Jay comes to pick him up and takes him for, quote, barbecue and let's call it coochie. On the drive there, they talk about Sean getting back in the game so he can get back on his feet. And they stop at a diner where Sean sees a waitress he's interested in and decides he's going to place an order for her on a platter. At that point, Jay gets a phone call. Jay looks at it and decides he needs to take it, but he needs to take it in private. Because you see, Jay is Lindsay's brother and who has still been in contact with Sean unbeknownst to Omega and Lindsay. He's told that it is Lila's birthday and he needs to come by because they're holding up festivities until he gets there. So, knowing he's in a tight situation, he goes back to Sean and he tells him that he needs to make a stop somewhere and that he needs him to stay in the car. Sean argues a little bit but decides he will in fact stay in the car. While this is going on, Omega is in the house giving a tour to a guy named Diego. It turns out that Diego is a drug supplier, and Diego is very insistent that Omega work for him. Omega lets him know that he is no longer in the streets. He's retired, and he and his family are not going to be in street life anymore. Diego's not very happy about this. He makes some veiled threats, and then he leaves. But as he leaves, Sean, sitting in the car, sees Diego leaving. Sean recognizes Diego as his supplier when he was on the street. And so he gets out to try to catch him, but he misses him. Realizing that Diego has just left from the place that Jay went, curiosity is piqued. And so Sean decides he's going to go and check it out. Of course, when he gets there, he sees that it's the home of Omega and Lindsay, his former woman. He also sees that they're having the birthday party for their daughter. He puts two and two together quickly. He's not very happy. He makes some threats, and then he leaves. Jay is put in an awkward position. Omega and Lindsay are not very happy with Jay. And so they have some words, and Jay decides, okay, I'm going to leave so I can go and take Sean home. On his way to take Sean home, Sean beats Jay and then steals his car. The next day, Sean sees Lila walking to school and kidnaps her. Then he contacts Omega with his demands. He wants $6 million in cash within 2 days' time, or he'll kill Lila. Omega, of course, not wanting to lose his daughter, decides he's going to go to the streets to raise the money because for some reason he doesn't have it. And from there, the movie really starts. The action parts of the movie really start. Omega has to jump back into street life in order to save his daughter. Now, I'm going to stop here with the synopsis. But just know, I don't want to give away the end. But again, just consider that the name of the movie is Allure Part 1. Overall, I liked the movie. I thought it was all right. It was interesting. It was engaging. I mean, it caught my attention. It kept my attention. There was some interesting action scenes. What they decided to do was thought-provoking. Overall, it wasn't a bad movie. Some of the really good things in it, the film production quality, the quality of the film itself and the actual filming was very good. The camera angles, the shots that were taken, the film quality, all very good. Without assuming, I'm going to say this was not a low-budget movie, and at least not a low-budget movie for an indie film. It looked very good. Also, the sound quality was very good. It was very even. It wasn't in and out. It didn't sound amateurish. It sounded very professional. One particular thing that I was impressed by was the lack of an exposition dump. You can look that up, and we'll talk more about it later in future videos. However, the writer was able to tie up the backstory very succinctly and very professionally, very conversationally, as if real people were talking. It wasn't a phony way that happens in a lot of movies. But what I actually liked the best was the writing. The plot was very straightforward, and for the most part, it stuck straight to it. It didn't veer far from it. It was very succinct. Everything kept moving towards the resolution of the movie. And to me, that was the best part of it. Now for the things that I did not like. So what I did not like was the acting. The acting was real phony, and the conversations weren't natural. They didn't sound like they were actually talking to somebody. It sounded like this is something I'm reading off a piece of paper. It was kind of like a middle school play or an episode of Good Times. Now at the time, I thought Young Jock was a bad choice for the lead actor. He looked like he needed to do a few sit-ups. Let's just say that. However, once I thought about it, he is supposed to be out of the game He's 13 years removed from it. Okay, so that makes it believable. He looks like somebody who's not been active lately. So physically, that was a good choice. Some of the other things that just rang phony to me. One thing was where Sean is telling Omega how much he's going to get from his supplier the next time he sees him, the next time it's time to re-up. This was at the beginning of the movie where Sean was supposedly really doing it. He has his girlfriend accustomed to a particular lifestyle. And so, but the amount that he named, that didn't really sound like a lot. It didn't sound like a lot of product for somebody who's really accustomed to making money. So that part was kind of phony to me. Another part was where Omega was needing to meet the ransom demand, but he didn't have cash on hand. But he's retired from the street game, and he was apparently, according to the figures that Sean made up, making several million a year. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm sure that that's not the area of responsibility a lot of times, and maybe it should be. However, for me, I just didn't like that part. I thought that was a little bit phony. All the parts where he was doing the things that he needed to do to raise the money, where I'm not really going to say because I don't want to ruin it for those who want to watch Allure Part 1. However, no one had ample security. No one was prepared for this. At one point, they're in a place where there's a lot of gambling going on, and it was a place for that, specifically for underworld, street level gangsters. Somebody in there has a gun. I know they do. So that was just a little bit overly convenient and a little bit phony to me. One of my last things is Diego is a drug supplier. He is not a quote-unquote drug dealer. He's not going to be out here recruiting people to work for him. From my personal, not experience, but from what I find to be true. And since with that present, it just really, really made me roll my eyes. And now for my Ratchet rating. Of course, the Ratchet rating basically means how ratchet was this movie. And, of course, we're watching movies on the Tubi streaming network. So quite a few of these are going to be very ratchet. This one, I'm not going to say it was very ratchet. However, it had a whole lot of ratchet things to it. There was a lot of regional slang. Even though it wasn't too ridiculous, it was easy to decipher. There were some gratuitous sex scenes. More than one, a couple. There was, the whole theme of the movie was drug dealing, and there were some crazy situations that you would have to be kind of ratchet yourself to understand. So, those things considered, I will give this movie 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ratchets. And please, comment below if you agree or if you disagree. Let's have a talk about it. Let's see what everyone else thinks about Allure Part 1. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe this video. And also, if you are a writer, an aspiring writer, an accomplished writer, a writer of Tubi movies, or you aspire to have Tubi movies, if you If you are any type of screenwriter or want to be a screenwriter or want information about screenwriting, please email me here at this address and put the word script in the subject line. And also, I'm starting to do this now. The next movie that I'll be watching is called Father Knows Best, and it is on the Tubi streaming network. So watch it with me and meet me here next week when we will discuss that movie. Again, please leave me an email here. Leave the word script in the subject line. And let's talk. See you next week.